this is a great generation, millennials. We define them as all Americans born since 1982. And one of their favorable traits, along with reversing dysfunction and violence among youth, and as well as bringing back closer families and bringing back more trust and participation in our civic system, is we think this is also a very smart generation, right? This is a group which, according to the nation's report card, NAEP, is performing better at grades, at the younger grades all the way up to senior, and their SAT scores are rising. And particularly, this is amazing considering the much larger participation rate. That is to say, much more kids in high school are taking the SAT. If you adjust for the increasing share of kids taking the SAT, you see a tremendous rise since the early 1990s. In fact, full adjustment would take current SAT scores almost all the way back where they were back when the early wave boomers were taking it in the mid-1960s, which of course was the pinnacle of the SAT before its long decline in the late 60s and 70s. We find particularly this generation is brilliant, that its brilliance shines in its extracurricular activities. What they're doing with robotics, with software, even with nanotechnology, with so many projects. The science fair has practically become fit for MIT professors to actually watch and learn from. We find that in spelling bees, the kinds of words the 8th graders are now spelling are just amazingly more complex and recondite than they were back when boomers were taking those tests, or even Xers were taking those tests back in the 60s, 70s, or 80s. This is a generation which is achieving, and unlike boomers, they're not so much interested in the journey and having those deep experiences and those lofty insights. They're more interested in the destination. They want to know what the message is. They want to know the information. They want it nicely summarized to be able to use it, move on, and build something big for the country. I think that the question of the relationship between generations and technology is often asked from the wrong perspective. Too often people ask, how does technology shape a generation? I think a more interesting question for any generation is, how does a new generation shape technology? Now, we boomers, we grew up at the time of mainframe computers, and with Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, we created the microcomputer, the personal computer, one on every individual's desk, right? A personal think station, unconnected to the establishment, to the system, so that each person can be personally creative. That's how we changed the technology. It was our need as a generation to be personally separate from the system so that we could be individually creative. We changed the technology. Xers took that same individuation in technology and their exploitation of the internet and web commerce and all the other creative things that Xers have done. What I think is catching everyone by surprise is how millennials are taking this technology and they're moving all of the information technology and they're moving it back to a community. First it was the email, then the chat room, then the IM, then the social network sites, and now it's Twitter and little GPS chips in every cell phone that you know where all of your friends are 24 hours a day. They're moving it back to a community. I think that's what older Americans sense we need, and I think that's where younger millennials feel they can serve a role. This generation is producing a renaissance of civic life in America, a renaissance in civic trust, increasing voter participation rates. We think they will be the next civic powerhouse in American history.